Well, good morning and welcome, and thank you for making the effort to come to this beautiful outdoor venue today, for continuing to believe in our district, and for carving out time to join me and our team as we talk a little bit about something that is quite remarkable in our neighborhood. I'm talking, of course, about the Clovis Unified School District. And there's a lot to talk about. As I speak this morning, I think you'll notice that at the core of everything I'm going to share with you is our long-standing philosophy, first voiced by founding Superintendent Doc Buchanan: a fair break for every kid. There's no denying it's been a rough year and a half, and yet at the forefront of every decision that we have made during what is arguably the most tenuous chapter in our district's history, our focus has been on providing a safe and healthy learning experience for our staff and our kids. Today, you're going to hear a little bit about our challenges, a little more about our successes, and most importantly, more about where we're headed as we emerge from one of the most challenging chapters in our district's history. First, thank you to our fantastic Foundation for Clovis Schools, whose ongoing financial support over decades has been instrumental in bridging funding gaps for our classrooms and supporting our kids and our staff. Given the state's funding formula that results in our district being the lowest funded in the county and one of the lowest funded in the state, the role of our Foundation for Clovis Schools has never been more relevant. I'm so excited to be here, in person, with all of you. As Adam said, look around, we did it. I missed doing this last year, and I have a lot to share with you. However, before I say another word, I need to lead with a huge thank you. In so many ways, you've been here for our district over the past year. From support of the Foundation, to trusting us to do what is right for our students and staff, speaking positively about the district within your sphere of influence, to passing Measure A last November. Your support of that bomb measure in the midst of these times was huge. You helped us prepare for the future needs of this community. And as a result, we are moving forward with the construction of the Terry Bradley Educational Center, expected to open in 2025 for intermediate students and 2027 for grades 9 through 12. In fact, our governing board just took action last night to award the contract for construction of this $300+ million complex to Harris Construction. It will include a high school, an intermediate school, an elementary school, and a student event center. As always, we have taken steps to ensure this project benefits our local business community, many of whom are here this morning. Your support of Measure A made this project, along with multiple other modernizations and construction projects across the district, possible. Check out the annual report at your place setting and the slide behind me for more information about projects planned and already underway thanks to Measure A. High-quality educational facilities are a hallmark of our community and help keep property values high, attract local business, and even contribute to our ability to host state events like the CIF Swim and Dive, cross country, and track and field meets that annually bring in around $12 million in tourism revenue to our local businesses. It truly is a win-win for our community when we invest in our facilities, and ultimately, of course, our kids are the big winners. As we look ahead and prepare for our future, I'm also excited to announce that we have taken steps with the newest project of the Foundation, the Doc B Leadership Academy. While I know the Foundation hopes to see this exist as an endowed, perpetually funded program in the future, the urgency of this need caused me and my team to request that the Foundation fund this work now. As a result, this year, we met before the start of school with 100 of our site and department leaders to focus on what being a leader means when you lead from the educational values and principles of Clovis Unified. And I have some of the tenets on our screen behind me. No one could possibly have imagined that our current leadership team, just like all of you business and government leaders, would be expected to navigate a worldwide pandemic. But when you can lean into core values and decision-making principles that are timeless, like our Clovis Unified values are, it gives you a true north, no matter what the issues or experiences you're dealing with. That's the purpose of this joint leadership development effort, to train up leaders to apply these values to the decisions that they will face, whether leading today or in the future. A curriculum consultant has also been hired to develop an intentional leadership training program that perpetuates the values and beliefs that have built Clovis Unified. Leadership matters, and we're making it a priority in Clovis Unified. So as I look around me today, I'm impressed by this group. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see you. I see elected officials, city and county leaders, business owners and employers, law enforcement and frontline workers, healthcare and educational partners. All of you here because you recognize your businesses and organizations intersect with us, the local school district. Actually, not just any local school district, but one of the highest performing school districts in the state of California. And we too are fortunate to have a group of elected community members working alongside our teams, providing a community perspective and overseeing the hard work that goes into maintaining a legacy such as what we have in Clovis Unified. At this time, it's my pleasure to recognize the governing board of the Clovis Unified School District. Please hold your applause until I've introduced all 7 board members. But I'm going to ask you to stand. Dr. Stephen Fogg, President. Mrs. Susan Hatmaker, Vice President. Mrs. Tiffany Stoker-Madsen, Clerk. And members, Mrs. Betsy Sandoval, Mrs. Yolanda Moore, Mr. David DeFrank, and Mr. Hugh Autry. Thank you for your amazing dedication to Clovis Unified. So today I'm going to talk about something that I think we can all identify with, coming home. Coming home is something that every one of us can identify with. Think of all the times in your lives when you have overcome even the most burdensome milestones to make that trip to see your family. I know that I have crossed the world twice now, during COVID, just to be able to give that personal hug to my 83-year-old mother and to experience the sights, the sounds, the smells of my own homeland. And even though I had to navigate cumbersome, very cumbersome, international COVID regulations, locator forms, flight delays, and a particularly uncooperative Irish passport control agent, it was also worthwhile just to experience that feeling of being at home. Of course, you know, there was also the Irish bacon and sausages, makes it all worthwhile to cross the world. But a few weeks ago, we gathered our Clovis Unified team at the Save Mart Centre for our annual general session rally to kick off our school year. It was a tremendous occasion, more so, of course, because we had not been able to do so the year before. It truly did feel like a homecoming, complete with all the familiar sights and sounds, the sounds of our student drum lines welcoming our employees, the familiar sounds of our cheerleaders proudly represented in their school colours, laughing and entertaining our staff outside, the familiar sound of all of our employees wearing their newly printed T-shirts, This year with our theme, Mission Possible on front, and every one of us wearing the same color as a symbol of our unity and togetherness. And once again, today we are experiencing that feeling of a homecoming with all of you. You, our trusted and supportive community of business leaders and partners. Honestly, we couldn't do what we do without you. And we are so grateful to see you here today. And I heard all the familiar sounds at this annual event with all of you laughing and chatting before breakfast. And it was really an honor to witness your ongoing stalwart support of Clovis Unified. These sights and these sounds are the familiar signal that our Clovis Unified school year is kicking off to a life-changing journey for close to 43,000 children in our community. Our kids needed us to find a way to bring them home too. They've been longing to experience that feeling of knowing that they are finally coming home. Oh, I didn't mean to get emotional about this. To our Clovis Unified family. They've yearned to hear the familiar sounds of the school bell, the laughter of friends and teachers. They've been craving the familiar sights of their peers learning in class, on the playing field, and in one of our amazing CTE facilities, all under the watchful eyes of our caring teachers, counselors, coaches, nurses, psychologists, and a whole team of educators who care deeply about them. They needed us, the adults, to navigate and continue to navigate all the obstacles for them. And by the way, there has been a mountain of obstacles. Staying abreast of the requirements of the CDC, CDE, CDPH, FCDPH, AAP, Cal OSHA, CIF, just to name a few. Thank goodness, though, they've all been on the same page and in total agreement with each other with utter clarity. That made it all so much easier to navigate, right? I assume that little bit of sarcasm didn't escape you all. And yet Clovis Unified was out front the entire time, chipping away at those obstacles, finding a way to bring our kids and our employees home safely to our Clovis Unified family. It has been some journey, and I have to acknowledge the great friend we have in our Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, Jim Uvino, who has helped us find our way through these clear directions and often carried our questions and pleas to and from Sacramento. And my fellow superintendents around the county, each of whom is on our weekly calls and each of whom are leading their communities through these challenging times. Jim, wherever you are, I know you're here. I will always remember the day that you told me back in end of 2020 that Clovis Unified had, to your knowledge, found a way to bring more kids back to school in person than any other school district in the state. That was news to me, but reflects the commitment our team has had throughout to move any mountain that stood between us and having our kids back in their classrooms. You know, last year was our 60th anniversary, our Diamond Jubilee. We reminded ourselves many times that diamonds shine brightest when under the most extreme of pressures. We found so many ways to shine brightly under the most extreme challenges, perhaps in our district's history, pulling out so many wins for our kids. I couldn't pass up on the opportunity this morning to share just a tiny number of examples of how this team has come together to take care of kids. Because though our facilities were closed, the business of education never stopped. In fact, some of our team never went home because their jobs are boots on the ground for kids. Our campus catering folks, they prepared more than 5.5 million meals last year during the pandemic to make sure our kiddos were fully nurtured. Our bus drivers, who were on the road beginning just a few days after the start of the shutdown, delivering those meals, along with curriculum packets and special education support equipment, all over our 198 square mile boundary. The special education team, they brought some of our highest need students who simply can't navigate learning online back to class in September of 2020. Our high school counsellors, some of whom had to build master schedules, usually created once a year, up to 4 or 5 times, for the thousands of students who attend our high schools and intermediate schools, sometimes by hand, to make sure our kids didn't fall off track from graduating. And the whole team that in the end made our in-person graduations happen last year for our class of 2021. The story behind that effort alone was quite incredible. Our school psychologists and all of the wellness teams who are working to support students struggling with the emotional realities of not just the pandemic, but difficulties like the Creek fire, loss of their peers in fatal accidents, and many other challenges. I will never forget the day in the midst of the worst of the smoke episode of the Creek fire that I got a call from our lead psychologist telling me that Fresno County was experiencing a severe uptick in suicide attempts among its youth population in a single 24-hour period. And the over and above work immediately launched to additionally reinforce the safety net around our kids. There were our visual and performing arts instructors who have found a way to keep our kids playing their instruments, acting, and singing. Did you know that even our wind instruments wear masks? Our purchasing, warehouse, and business teams were also very busy. Another pandemic memory that stands out is the day that our purchasing team had secured a truckload of toilet paper and cleaning supplies. Hot commodities, remember that? But they arrived not on pallets, as ordered, but loose, in the midst of reduced staffing. Worried that if we refused shipment, we wouldn't get the chance again, our business and plant operations leaders jumped into action to unload the truck. You might recognize our Associate Superintendent of Admin Services, our Director of Plant Operations, and more of our management team up there. Our athletic coaches led the state in developing safety protocols that became the model around California, and that made it possible to re-engage our kids in sports as early as June 2020, and resulted in almost every sport getting a condensed season last spring. I could spend the entire morning listing all of the ways that the Clovis Unified team stepped up for each other and for our kids, but I know we don't have all day. And don't hear me wrong, I know it wasn't perfect, and I'm sure there were times that you wondered, what are they thinking? But in an era where there were few right answers and certainly no roadmap, we kept our mission front and center to take care of each other and to take care of our kids, and to never sit on the sidelines and wait for everything to be tied up neatly in a pretty bow. In retrospect, I liken our experience to what we teach our kids when they tackle a new concept. Learning isn't perfect, we tell them. It's messy when you dig in to figure something out that you've never experienced before. But that doesn't mean you give up. We teach that to our kids. And learning is what we're all about. So, how are our kids doing? As I prepared this speech for you today, I found myself thinking that if I was in your seat, that's something I'd be very interested to know. I remember last year while I was talking to a member of the media, in fact, Darius, wherever you are, I think it was you and I on one of your GV Wire episodes that I was asked, Dr. O'Farrell, how are you going to address the fact that your students are missing out on an entire year of education? Remember that? Well, I want to share with all of you what I told Darius that day. It might feel to some like school was on some sort of hiatus last year. But from day one, we knew that our kids couldn't afford for us to take that approach. Doc's charge, first line, we believe in high standards in Clovis schools, was immediately put into effect. And we spent our year in pursuit of those high standards. A pandemic didn't stop us from believing it either, but motivated us to work harder to reach that bar of excellence that we still hold high for our students. So back in September of 2020, Our leadership team met with the principals of every school in the district to talk about exactly that. Our school area teams worked together to figure out how to intentionally maximize our time with our students to ensure that the essential grade level standards were the focus for the 2021 school year. Those site leaders put together impressive plans to ensure that our kids would be ready for the next grade level. How did they do that? First, they worked together as teams. Some teachers taught the in-person hybrid, while others continued to teach our students opting to remain in virtual learning. I witnessed firsthand the challenges our team navigated daily as I went out and visited every school in our district, 55 schools. And at every site, I was blown away by the dedication, the innovation, the creativity, the energy and enthusiasm, and the genuine care and love that our team devoted to our kids. Nobody was waiting until next year in Clovis Unified. Our team was all in. And in the pages of that annual report at your place setting, you can check out some of the hard and fast data that supports their work, along with what you see on these slides behind me. Our intervention team stepped up big time. Mental health providers, student relations liaisons, transition counselors, attendance officers. That whole layer of added support for our students was more important than ever. Then we doubled our efforts during summer school with twice as many students and twice as many sites operating. All in all, we buckled down to ensure our students received the best services possible in a very challenging context. I'd be lying if I didn't acknowledge that ground has been lost. Whether academically or social emotionally, our kids need us now more than ever. To that end, we continue to focus on making sure our kids are in school. State mandates about masks or vaccines aside, that remains our number one goal. We know that our kids do best when they are in our classrooms, on our fields and stages, working under the watchful eye of our amazing teachers and educators. Already, we have seen the difference in our students. And with the added help of our transitions teams, our school psychologists, nurses, coaches, counselors, and mental health specialists, and so many others, we are confident that we will continue to provide that experience of coming home for our kids. You know, there have been some silver linings in all of this. It has brought us together as a team. We have leaned on each other more than ever. And there have been so many examples of Clovis Unified employees stepping up to help each other and our kids. Take, for example, the current substitute shortage. It's very significant for us right now. Like every other industry, we have faced challenges in covering classrooms and classified positions. Many district administrators have returned to classrooms to cover assignments due to this shortage. Recently, I was out at Lincoln Elementary, and Principal Matt Verhalen was telling me about his 4 days subbing in kindergarten. For the Positivity Project, the topic was curiosity. So Principal Verhalen asked the kids if they knew what curiosity was. Nope, not a clue. So he leaned into his former high school biology teacher archives and brought a bear's head skeleton in a bag. First, he invited the kids to put their hands in and try to guess what it was. The teeth, the smooth bone, maybe it's a dinosaur. Then he pulled it out a little and soon a little further. They were mesmerized. Finally, he asked, "Does anyone want to know what it is?" Every hand shot up in the classroom. "Aha," he said. "That's what curiosity looks like." And for the rest of the week, he delighted them with other mysterious items from his office shelf, including an ostrich egg and a Lincoln lion head. Talk about silver linings. Matt is just one of the many school leaders who have stepped up in so many ways for their educational teams. their kids and the families of their school communities. And I know they rarely get the recognition that they deserve. All of them are here this morning, unless, of course, somebody got called back to sub. Can I ask all of you incredible, caring people who lead one of our Clovis schools to please stand up and receive a round of applause that's long deserved. Come on, stand up. There they are. Amazing leaders in Clovis Unified. Thank you. We appreciate you. They humble me every day, as do many of our employees. I was out at Fugman Elementary recently and I noticed some excitement in the kitchen. There, our campus catering manager, Shauna Little, was teaching our kiddos how to punch the straw into a juice box without spilling the juice. All you elementary principals know exactly what I'm talking about. But she was teaching them the science of the process, telling them how the depth of the straw determined the juice spillage. And then she went on to demonstrate a similar science concept with a bucket and a rag in the kitchen. What a great example of every employee stepping up to be an educator in the midst of this crisis. So if you happen to see our Director of Transportation driving a bus on the street, which she has been doing, or notice our Associate Superintendent of Human Resources and Employee Relations, Barry Jager, teaching class, that was an exciting morning for some kids, it may seem like things haven't changed that much in Clovis Unified since the days when Doc himself mowed the grass when needed. Even our kids are appreciative to be back in class, as one student at Alta Sierra recently told me. I'm so happy to be back in school that I even like doing my homework now, he said. You know, we've talked a lot this past year about saving lives, and we will forever be grateful to our amazing healthcare workers who've literally been doing that. But make no bones about it, we too are in the business of saving lives. I've dwelled this morning on our team and what they have done to keep our students on track, because our core value that it is people, not programs, who make the difference for students is exactly true. As I close, I would like to direct your attention to the screen as we highlight some of this team who every day dedicate themselves to our kids and to this community.
It takes a team to help our kids be the best they can be in mind, body, and spirit. A team that will go to extraordinary lengths to see students succeed. From a student's first day of preschool to walking across the graduation stage, they are why we're here. We're proud of the steps our students have taken and proud of where they will go. Ready for today, ready for tomorrow, building what matters. Clovis Unified.
They're the faces, some of the faces of our team. And I can't tell you how humbled and proud I am to serve them and to serve this community every day. So once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting our schools. And here's to a really successful year. Thank you.
Don't go too far away. Mission Possible. Emer, I think we can do that. I think it's incredible what you've done. Thank you for your encouragement and what you've done this year. I want to say also thank you again for Fresno Unified, Sanger, Ken Tester from Merced City Schools. Thank you for coming from Merced to join us here today. But Emer, what a great theme for this school year. And I want to just, hats off to you, Dr. O'Brien. Oops, was that a faux pas? What's going on?
Okay, well, so yes, I am returning to my maiden name. I know it seems like an unusual step, but like so many people who have been divorced and raised children, I kept my married name for 20 years. And after talking with my family this summer and my two girls, we all agreed it was time. And so I took the unprecedented step of filing to go back to my maiden name. It happened really fast, way faster than the 6 years it took to make the decision. So it's not too unusual. It's O'Brien. Over in Ireland, I'm known as Emer O'Brien still, of course. But I told my team I'll still be EO, as they affectionately call me. So I didn't really want you to hear about it out in the community. I wanted you to hear it from me, and I didn't want there to be any rumors either about any other things that could happen. So I'm going to start, changing all the things I need to change, and I am so excited actually to be going back to my maiden name. I was a very proud Emer O'Brien for a long time, so hopefully we'll get used to it. I'm still not used to it myself yet, but we'll get there. Thank you.